Good evening. Welcome to the Around the Ballpark podcast, episode number 95. We are ever so close to that big number 100, but this one we have a lot to cover in a short amount of time. There are like 100 PLEs coming up this weekend. We're going to talk about all of them as much as we could in the time, but tonight we have Jake DeMarco with us, our solo guest. We had you on, Jake, for that awesome 3,000 subscriber party, and I knew right away I was like, got to get you on to one-on-one, and I didn't know at the time it was going to be talking about all these shows, but there's a lot of content there.
So perfect, so much content. So I appreciate you.
And the card is ever so changing. I'm sure they're going to add more between now and then.
Exactly. So, every little hiccup along the way, they seem to just throw another one out there. So we'll see what happens with this card. This build has been unique to say the least.
And then matches that I'm like, and now I think if that's okay, let's go ahead. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and read the sponsor read, but then after that, I'd like to start with Saturday night's main event, but I have a certain reason why I want to do that one. So,
you got it.
Guys, as you know, we are sponsored by Nashville Tax Solutions. Whether you need to file years of missing returns, a current year return, or you need relief from a tax lien or levy, Nashville Tax Solutions has the solution for you. The expert team over there of tax professionals are dedicated to providing personalized solutions tailored to your unique situation. Don't let tax problems weigh you down. Contact Nashville Tax Solutions today and let them guide you towards a brighter financial future. The way WWE shows are going, not going to be able to afford to go to a show anytime soon, but let Nashville Tax Solutions help you with your finances. Call them today, offices in Palm Bay and in Fort Pierce, 855-627-4829, or check out their website, NashvilleTaxSolutions.com. And finally, their email is info@NashvilleTaxSolutions.com, where tax resolution is achieved. So thank you, team over there, for continued support. And we are well on our way to 3,100. So we're continuing to grow. Appreciate you guys for all that you do. And again, Jake is with us tonight. Darren is unavailable this evening. He'll be back on Thursday. So we're going to have a nice little chat about all these shows. And Jake, like I mentioned, we're going to go ahead. We'll start with Saturday night's main event. But before we look at the card and start making our predictions, again, the matches there'll probably be at least one more match added. I think right now there are 3.
Yeah, it seems to be like there's going to be more added.
Yeah, there has to be.
Yeah,
but the thing is, though, so part of me, I wanted the card to be a little bit better. It was a little bit on the weeks, not enough. But then they're starting to put matches on there that I would prefer to see at SummerSlam instead of Saturday night's main event. But it is what it is at this point. And so, correct me if I'm is Clash in Paris? That's after SummerSlam, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
so
just want to make sure it was in the one. So
at the end of the month, yeah.
So, so with all these shows and stuff, obviously this coming Saturday night is Saturday night's main event. 3 matches on the card as of right now, and so we'll go ahead and review those right here, right now. So this first one that I'd like to talk about is. This one was just put together. This one's Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. Of course, I was surprised. I'm not sure about you, Jake, to see Drew McIntyre return on a taped edition of SmackDown. I'm not complaining, but I was thoroughly surprised. And we don't get a lot of surprises anymore in 2025. I really thought he was going to be on the shelf a little bit longer, so I'm glad to see him back. But
I was surprised indeed. Yeah, not expecting that one to happen the way it did. Certainly.
Yeah. So I see there the 31st of August on there. So they had to squeeze another show in that month.
Exactly. Tried to squeeze it behind me as well for my memory as well as yours, but
yes. Okay. Well, that doesn't. They're on that 3 weeks
earlier, and I proved how my memory is just impeccable. Chef's kiss on that one. No, I always have a terrible time. Like once I'm jump started, I got to be jogged back in. You got to get the proverbial jumper cables out from wrestling times to get me going. But then I just don't shut up. So, it just takes a little bit to get that brain going.
Right. Yeah, and if we're not sure, that's probably 3 weeks later after the last one. Because at this rate, that's what the theme is. And
that's kind of been the theme every 3 weeks. And these rush builds are not great because we're getting good wrestling. We're getting, sometimes great wrestling. We're getting good matches or great matches. The problem is there's not a ton of story behind them. They're just kind of doing these dream match scenarios. Oh, John Cena and XYZ. He hasn't put any younger talent over. He hasn't even worked with any younger talent, minus Logan tagging with him, but that's not getting him over. So there's been kind of this rushed lack of importance to everything. Everything's rushed, but nothing feels like it's super important and must see at this point. So they tried to announce and change it up a little bit. They announced Gunther and Sheamus a bit ahead. Gunther and Goldberg way ahead of time. And I have Sheamus on the screen in front of me. They're predicting, does he get a match for the IC title ever? We'll see. But yeah, Gunther and Goldberg. I mean, they planted the seeds for this at Bad Blood in Atlanta. Our friend of ours, Liz, was there, and she said then, that's it. That's his last match. That's what's going to happen. The way they announced this was a little bit off, though.
Yes.
Yeah. They didn't outright say at first, this is his last match. This is it. This is what's the be all end all. They just had his T-shirt that said Goldberg's last ride. So,
yeah, and we're gonna definitely chat about that when I have some thoughts on that. But this one with Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, it's awkward because I feel like neither person should be getting on L at this time, and so I'm not quite sure the direction they're going here. But I feel like
that a taped episode, you nailed it. You said it. It didn't feel on the caliber that was Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, he was just there. And, Raw felt shorter of a show, which is not the worst thing, but I think they were trying to get that show finished so they could tape the other episode. And kudos to the team for getting them the holiday weekend off. That's awesome to see that. So, it's, when we don't want to be upset all the time. So it's usually holiday shows are what they are. At least it's not like the 2019 holiday shows, which were abysmal.
Exactly.
But
people forget.
So this match here
were, Mike. That's the problem. They do. They forget. It's that little bit of hindsight they're lacking. They forget how awful some of it was. And it's just we have a lot of good wrestling to be thankful for. That's for certain.
We do. And so with a lot of their shows, it kind of has the old NXT Black and Gold vibe where they didn't have to get every talent on every show. And that's okay, but they had just enough matches. 5 matches was a sweet spot for them. It feels like now they're getting right. They're not overbooking the shows in terms of total matches, but they're forgetting about the build. And even though the Bloodline was one of the only stories that was so in depth that at least that kept hooked us in. Now we're not even getting hooked in. There's really not much to sink your teeth into outside of some good matches and all that sort of thing. So
Randy and Drew, what is there really to get excited about besides that it's Randy and Drew? It's going to be good with these two, and they're trying to save it a little bit, but then again they didn't because they didn't have any issue or dissension between Randy and Cody. That's where you needed the hostility between. So Drew just kind of took away from that a little bit, not in a bad way, but he took the attention away. And now we're just ready for Drew and Randy. And like you said, neither man really should lose. Orton just lost that pivotal match to get him a title shot. So this is Drew's return. Either way, I think Drew wins here. I think they want to have Drew coming out looking strong because they're going to need more challengers working up afterwards on the SmackDown side.
Yes, he has to win this here. I feel like they're doing a lot of shenanigans, of course, like that, certain finishes and stuff like that. But there's no scenario where Drew should be losing by a roll up or some kind of wonky thing here. Definitely not by RKO. Orton, they can kind of. Maybe Drew does something earlier, and I don't think maybe he does something to Cody backstage earlier in the night, gets Cody to come out there during a ref down spot or something, and that's the only thing I can think of. And basically, so Randy suffers a loss, and Cody gets involved, and then long-term booking beyond Cena and Cody, maybe. Yeah. But I don't know. So I'm happy. It beefs up the card, but they really putting themselves in a weird spot here. So I'm going to agree. I'm going to take Drew McIntyre here 100%. I don't want to see Orton take another L, but I feel like he'll be protected because that inevitable match with Cody is coming. The real deal. That was, a teaser in Saudi there.
Yeah, it is certainly going to happen. It is going to happen. We know that at some point we're going to get that real heel face dynamic. But Drew just coming back here, he's really got to win this one. It has to happen. I feel like that's all there is to it. We need to see it. And we need Drew to win.
In the chat there, Deck for Christ says Drew has to win. Yep, we agree with you on that one for sure.
Absolutely.
So from there, of course, we also have LA Knight and Seth Rollins. Another big time match that I'm surprised that it's not on SummerSlam. I feel like the Gunther Goldberg match, I think they know that it's going to be such a short one that they had to beef up this card a little bit. So again, I don't want to see shenanigans. Like I do want these Saturday night main event shows to feel important, and I feel like they've not so much dropped the ball, but they haven't been what I had hoped originally. But at the same time, I don't want to see, like, I would rather see the culmination of this at a SummerSlam instead of a Saturday night's main event for sure.
Absolutely.
So.
And that's part of the difficulty with the build. This one is a little bit of a victim on two fronts. So yes, it is not immediately a 2-week build because we've had them interacting with each other for a little bit of time now. You know, Seth was the foil for LA Knight and vice versa. So they've been interacting, but it's not been really anything in the forefront. And now we want to see LA Knight doing something worthwhile. So having him be involved in essentially the main event orbit is great for him. But why really are they fighting besides they're getting in each other's way? So you're just rooting for the face if you like him, or the heel if you like. You know, there's not that substance to really get into yet. There's a little bit of, oh well, he screwed me, but I screwed them, so you're even. So again, you don't really have one person to cheer for. LA Knight's not an underdog, and Seth is not overpowering him yet. So
I want to ask you one as we're talking about this match before we give my official predictions, and we'll go across with for this match. With the need for the heels, obviously, you know, we have so many faces right now, and certain ones haven't turned yet. Are you a proponent that Seth has to change? Not only does Seth have, we all in agreement they need a name for that stable by now, but are you in agreement that they should change the Rollins theme so that way it's not, because I feel like even if they change it, we still might hear the crowd do the sound. Like I think they're too far gone past that. Or do they continue to play that song and then just, you know, continue his heelish ways? But I don't see it working with that.
Yeah, crowds today are very fickle, and all they want is one thing. They want to interact. They want to cheer, scream, cry, yell, whatever it is. They want to be part of the action. And this has been proven time and time again when they give you a top-level babyface in peril, getting destroyed. And what do you hear? One more time. One more time. Or they're in a ladder match. We want tables. They don't care about face, heel. The live crowd, not the home crowd, but the live crowd reacts strictly to moments. And they don't care whether you're face, you're heel. They want to interact. You need to take that interaction away from them so that the home crowd is seeing it better portrayed as Seth being the bad guy. Seeing the crowd react to him like he's Jesus reincarnated every time. Oh, it gets a bit daunting. He's got him and the two bronze chanting and barking, and he's not supposed to be a cool heel that people get behind. He's supposed to be the future, and he's making it the future. Like that kind of, he's a threat. He's all assuming and imposing. They need new music, absolutely. They just like Fozzy with Jericho, he had to take it away from the people. This needs to go. You don't need the people chanting and cheering and raving. It's a bad look for the heels.
And it could be phased out. Like I understand the dilemma there, but you can have it where he's like, cut that off, and just each time they want, you know, the crowd wants to hear it, and he shuts it down. And even if they just walk to the ring with nothing, and he's like just something, because right now they want to cheer for Seth. They want to sing along with Seth because of the music. They want to bark along with Braun Breaker. And anytime that Bronson Reed does any kind of splash, they want to cheer on that too. So you have this monster heel faction that is continuously getting cheered.
I would take the music and keep it the same and just take out all the chants to mess with the crowd. Yeah. So just the burn, even the burn it down part, just I'd keep in the heavy double bass, all that. But I'd get rid of any whoa, or oohs are out of here. I don't want to have any participation. You know, this is not Live Aid, and you are not Freddie Mercury, my friend. Cut it out.
That's right. So I don't know which way they go here, because again, another, like, are we going to really go the route of another LA Knight loss here? And can Seth really take an L at this stage of the game? So I really, this one's difficult for me. Again, I feel like it has shenanigans written all over it. But so I can't see this, like, I can't see dissension, you know, something where they accidentally cost Seth. I just don't know. This one's like one of those I
This
don't
one is
know.
very hard to pick because of how both men are handled currently. LA Knight is in peril himself, not at a threat of the heels, but he's waning slightly in likability with the crowd. People are yeah, they still want to get into it. He's over, but he's not over like he was the summer of 23 before he faced Roman.
Yeah,
People would have
but at
drank the
least
sweat out of his boot at that point. They loved him so much. Now
so
it's like, all right, he's on the card. He's another Sheamus. He's another Miz. Like, I'm happy I saw him, but I'm gonna chant with him. I'm gonna say his catchphrases, but I don't know. He needs this. He desperately needs this to break away. I think this all leads to SummerSlam. I think we're gonna have some type of big tag match culmination, 6-man tag with LA Knight teaming up with possibly one other in CM Punk to take on Seth and the Bronze. They have 2 nights of SummerSlam. You could still do singles another night, but there's a lot of stuff left unanswered and in the meantime. So
yeah, I think that that's a good call, and it very well could be Jey Uso at this point. Could very well be, but so I feel like my answer here, and as far as prediction, it's difficult. I feel like this is going to be a schnoz finish where LA Knight looks like he's got this in the bag, and right at the last moment they interfere. It's just straight up DQ finish to the point where LA Knight gets the win via DQ, to the point where the crowd is vehemently booing them. They're going to do everything they can to make it look like a murder scene. I feel like that's a route that they can go to kind of keep Seth, his aura, but I just don't want to see him be like that Messiah character. I
don't either.
Yeah.
He's got the briefcase, so he can lose a crap ton now. He can lose a metric, ton if he wants, and just be good to go, because the briefcase rewrites history for you. It does all the dirty work. You could lose for 364 days, and then if you get the title that last day, it's all worth it in WWE's eyes.
Yep.
So with Seth, he could lose this, but I don't think he's going to in the way we would want him to put LA Knight over. I think the Bronze get involved eventually, if they have Penta or Sammy or whoever try and help out, but either they get the DQ or it's too much with the advantage. But I think Seth wins or loses maybe via DQ, like you said.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but he's still on top. Seth looks strong. LA Knight's laid out. He won, but it's via DQ. And I hate to say those kind of answers. It feels like a cop out, but I feel like that's truly where they're going.
What's going to happen? Yeah, they kind of have to go that route. Now, before we go into the main event, because of course there's no 4th match announced yet. We're expecting something probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
But so we'll just go with what we have rather than try to guess what the last match is going to be. But before we talk about the main event, I got to get your opinion. Big fan of the Busted Open show, and they had very interesting comments, especially Dave, about the with Penta in terms of him coming to the ring and dancing along and doing his signature stuff to the crowd and stuff like that. It definitely reminded me of Jeff Hardy back in the day when he showed up.
Matt in AEW, he's just going down the alleyway. They're beating the crap out of his brother, and he's just
yes.
He even said to me, he's like, I don't know why I decided let's stop and dance. I love that short with him and Chris Van Boo. He's like, I don't know why I had to dance, but I did it. It just
it's so good.
Such a classic. Penta had that feel to him. The Jeff Harvey,
for sure. That's what I was thinking. So, but I do like, some people are saying like, oh, see in the main event scene, like they've made him important since day one, and so him being in the main event scene is believable. And I like the fact that him and Phoenix have pretty much been separate for now, because let's see this out for a little bit longer before the inevitable happens with that. I think the way to go is keep Penta with Andrade for a long period of time, and then something happens where Andrade has a change of heart or something, and he needs his brother to whatever. I don't know what that means exactly, but something like that.
Well, the Lucha Brothers actually weren't like, when they were together, they weren't always like the mainstay of the act. Penta was busy doing like the dark version of himself on Lucha Underground. Like they were a tag team, but it wasn't like either of their focal points. They were, it's like, all right, we got this. Yeah, obviously Lucha Bros, but each man was doing their own thing for a long time. Then they would do indie dates where they'd be together and 6-man with Ray, things, but it wasn't like their only drive. But in AEW, they never saw either man really as a single star. They had to be a tag team, and one of the best matches I saw in person was Jungle Boy taking on Ray Phoenix at the Grand Slam Rampage show, because Phoenix was like, I'm going to prove why I can do this solo. I'm going to give you the match. And he beat the living hell out of Jungle Boy, tortured him. But you made a great point, and it just shows the stand. And it is a hard thing to overcome as wrestling fans, certainly. It's more noticeable recently and nowadays, I feel like, certainly.
Agreed. And of course, that leads us to the big main event, of course. And
dun, dun, dun.
Now this main event's probably going to be over as quick as our pick is discussed for this match. Really, really concerned about someone getting, like, I don't want to see Gunther get injured in any kind of capacity.
No.
There's no intent there from Goldberg. It's just, we're already reading articles. He's hurting here. He's limping there. He's wearing this because he can't this.
Yeah. He's not having a great time, unfortunately. He says that he's doing quite poorly. And that's the same thing with Bryan Danielson saying that, I didn't have neck surgery yet. I still need it. I'm still going numb. I lose feeling all the time, but I want one more match. And it's like, I have my neck fused, not by choice. And if I could have the surgery that he needs to alleviate the pain and pressure, I would jump at that in a heartbeat. It's like, why? You don't want, someone needs to talk him off the ledge there. That's the thing.
We could have put this on main event and spared ourselves.
The Lucha Bros get single stars, and he doesn't need to fight more. But Goldberg is inevitable. He's inevitable. He's that immovable object. He's taking the title. I can't see a world where Gunther is not pinned 1, 2, 3 here.
You can't see a world, even though they booked this as his last match.
I think he's gonna either Seth cashes in or he makes the title vacant for Clash.
Yeah. So here's
SummerSlam, excuse me.
So I wanted, all parts. I mean, there's no reason here that Gunther shouldn't retain. However, the reason that I'm picking Goldberg, as much as I don't want to do that, and the reason I'm agreeing with you is, let's think about this. Like, the show can't possibly go off the air with a Gunther 2-minute win over Goldberg. Like, that's just not something that would happen. No. I just can't. So it has to be, unfortunately, the other way around. And with Seth already having a match earlier in the night, it's less likely they'll cash in versus him not. It is. It is very possible. He could come. He's fought 2 matches in the night before. It's not doable. It's not impossible. But
he can do it. But
so I don't want to. Yeah, so I don't want to see a vacated thing, but I don't know if this is the venue for the cash in. That's why off the bat I wasn't, I was not crazy about.
Well, think about it. You have a title change on, network, non-cable network television, and then besides the title change, you also have the cash in. And if it's successful, so you had 2 title changes. That's like world. So you retired Goldberg that night on top of 2 title changes, one of which being a cash in. Like, it's huge news that would drown out All in Texas. I think they want as much headline demand as possible, which is why I see them going crazy with this.
And then
they're not viewing it as counter booking and as competition. Are you mad? They have 3 shows against All in Texas. They had Evolution here in Connecticut. I had pre-ordered for tickets at Mohegan Sun. It was set, and then they decided to move it last second because they wanted to counter book All in Texas suddenly.
It's, I think too, with this with the finish for this match, I think they just did the King of the Ring tournament, so any sort of tournaments out of the window here in terms of vacating and stuff. So I think we're gonna have to see a cash in here. So that could mean they do like to do the cash ins where someone loses earlier in the night and then they later on cash in, or maybe not a cash in, but
the same night that he cashed in at Mania. Yeah, because LA Knight beat Seth, and then he gets the title, and now he has a claim at the title from Seth.
Right? Or I even think back, not the same
booking there. Yeah.
Right, and not the same exact thing because it wasn't cashed in, but I think back to Brett and Owen. Owen wins the match, the opening of the card, and then main event. Brett, wins the championship. So
yeah,
yeah,
you don't need the briefcase to show that that's established. Certainly, the briefcase just adds to the possibility. Really, it makes it.
Yeah. So
His contingency plan is legitimate. It's going to happen. We're going to see some type of involvement.
Yes, exactly. And so the one thing I can say about the Saturday Night Main Event show is none of the 3 matches, anyone, I don't care what you tell me, you can say with sincerity that or clarity that like there's a lot of question marks with these 3 matches. So at least in terms of unpredictability, they have that going for them. Whether the matches themselves will be great or not, that's to be considered. But the fact is none of those 3 matches are easy to pin out, and so I had difficulty with my picks, but it sounds like we're on the same page with our 3 so far. So be interesting to see as we continue on with the other shows here. So then from here,
actually, really quick, I just wanted to pick your brain briefly. Because I'm telling you, Mike, you've got a mind for the business like no other, and one thing they want besides what would be one more cherry on top of 2 cash-ins and Goldberg and the tribal chief. So Seth cashes in, he wins the title, and now Roman comes back to vie his revenge with everything that happened at Mania that he never got revenge for. You already have Punk in the storyline, so now you have Roman, Punk, and LA Knight taking on the 3 of them at SummerSlam, maybe? Like, there's ways and layers, there's possibilities. I don't want to sound like I'm being Mr. Ultimate Fan and be, we could do this or we could do that. But Roman's got to come back sooner than later. He's finished filming the other movie that he was already working on. So it seems like sooner than later, we're going to need him to be coming back, right? And I imagine he's going to be in the SummerSlam either main event or one of the nights, upper part of the card. They're selling a 2-night first ever SummerSlam. They're going to need all hands on deck. All hands on deck
for that. Yeah. And so I'm glad you brought that up just to play my own devil's advocate for my own pick that I made 27 seconds ago. That's that same scenario. So I was saying out loud, I can't imagine the scenario where Gunther pins Goldberg in 3 minutes and they go off the air. However, they want to make a splash on network TV. That's the way to keep the title on Gunther if they want to do so. You can have, Goldberg gets pinned, whatever. You have Seth come out. He's about to cash in. Roman spoils that opportunity, and now he doesn't get to cash in. And then they can go that route. You have your moment. Everyone forgets that the main event was not very good, and Gunther keeps the championship. Although
people are excited that Roman returned. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Now Gunther on a SummerSlam poster versus night 1 is one thing, but I feel like so I think that's the only way they can have Gunther retain is if Roman is involved. I agree. I think that's a excellent point there for sure. So jumping from there, a show and I think we're all in agreement of the 4, the one that I'm least excited about. And I really thought they were going to stack the deck with this one, but is the NXT Great American Bash also happening that weekend. I was really expecting a little bit more there. We only have 3 matches announced so far and a contract signing here. So
this, of course, contract signing never, nonetheless, of all things, It's like TNA on NXT.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
still weird. It's still weird to me.
Still weird, but it doesn't have the cringe that ROH does on AEW.
No,
for whatever reason.
It's I think it's a bad thing. It's just unorthodox. It's a bit
unorthodox, and there's not a bazillion championships like there are in ROH. So I think that helps a little bit. But so we had that contract signing. I'm not quite sure what to predict there, other than it's going to be interesting. But so going into that,
I'm excited. I'm glad they added Mike Santana. He is the only other person that I would like to see win the title besides Joe Hendry. Joe's already had the belt. Let Mike get it at Slammiversary. That's going to be one amazing ovation at the end for him. He is Mr. TNA now. And that was somebody, like you said before, talking about tag teams and people you don't always see like able to reinvent themselves and go out. There he is. Look at that, Proud and powerful, he became, the number 1 guy in TNA through hard work and match quality and effort. So,
he did great on the definitely on the indies and multiple different promotions. I know JD spoke very highly of him on his their company up there and stuff. So he's very good. Great talent. Yep, House of Glory. Yep. So So yeah, looking at this card here, of course, you have the main event there. Interesting choice for a main event. So I want to get your thoughts on this match in terms of, we'll start there. Obafemi's been on some roll for sure. And so, but yeah, so.
I'm a big fan of Obafemi. I really did enjoy the match that he had with Jasper Troy. That was fun, and it was a good match. I am hopeful that we go ahead and we get a good match out of Inamara here, but I am not the biggest Inamara fan, sadly. I mean, he'll definitely put on a good match with Oba, but it just doesn't interest me as much as it could. I like Obafemi so much, and this booking was done kind of butt backwards here. They really the pooch on this. So Obafemi gets a challenge from Inamara because Inamara pinned the TNA champion Trick Williams in the ring, which then gave Briggs, his partner, a shot at the TNA title, which he didn't succeed, which then therefore made Inamara rightful number one contender somehow. So it was a bit very, very confusing and quite a mess. I don't know how they really got Inamara to wordsmith his way into a title shot. Then he faces Jasper, and Jasper loses. And Jasper's racked up quite a few, losses already. So I wasn't thrilled with that. The match, the outcome, the way it worked. This feels like a total foregone conclusion and kind of one of those skippable main events. Sadly,
Yeah.
I really like Obafemi, but I'm not into Inamara when he's a singles action. I like him as a tag. Him and Briggs work well together, but he's just boring me in the ring, and he doesn't really have a lot of charisma or personality. At least not that they've been able to show.
Yeah, no, definitely.
He just gets loud. So
yeah, it seems like just a hey, we got to put Obafemi on the card to have some kind of meat there, or whatever. I just agree. It feels like just another challenger into whatever path they're going to go bigger. And so. Not excited for that match. Obafemi taking that in again, taking him in that one for sure. Not too much to say about that one, just lack of excitement. I'm sure they'll bring it like NXT. They're still not quite the black and gold, but they're way better than the 2.0 for sure. So
I think we're gonna get some big surprise after this match. I don't want to. I'm not usually one to give any spoilers, so I'm gonna leave it at that. But from what they're working on, supposedly they're bringing somebody either back or in to be the next challenger for Obafemi. So that's gonna be probably the highlight, is what happens after the match and the call out.
Yes,
I think
I agree.
Where we need to be watching.
That's where it's gonna. Yeah, that's gonna agreed. So then here, of course, we have this tag team match, the big debut, in-ring debut for Blake Monroe, and so this one's interesting because obviously when we talk about Evolution, but some of the competitors here are in Evolution. So your thoughts on how this one's going to play out? Who do you take in this? Which team are you taking in this one?
So I have a hard time imagining Blake Monroe working with Jordan Grace losing her first match. But she is facing, the current women's champion. So it is a bit concerning that I don't want to see JC Jane in a losing effort the day before she faces Grace at Evolution 2. That's the thing that makes me kind of keep going back and forth. I'm like, all right, they got the numbers with Jasmine Nix. But I think Blake's going to be able to get into her head as well as Jordan. I think that they're going to pin Fallon Henley and the faces will be victorious.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Yeah, agreement here. Blake Monroe, first match. Now, if this was in her hometown, instant L, right? Because WWE loves to have that hometown loss
they do
all
backwards.
The time. I could hear Vince back in the day just laughing in the back. But I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you there. No surprise. I think she'll make a great showing. She has to, and a lot of hate online. Oh, look where she was in AEW. Look where she's at now. It's like, can we let this breathe a little bit? She's got to have a couple matches under her belt before she's skyrocketed to the moon, I'm sure. So this will be her show in no time for a period of time. So it'll be okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, all be okay. She'll be where she needs to be sooner than later. And then, of course, the other match announced here, Sol Ruka, Izzy Dame. How do you see this one going? This again, these matches are not jumping off. It's not even when you think NXT women's division was so powerful and that brought so much talent up, but it feels like they took too many at once. Yeah.
I don't think they lost too many. I think because they did a good job the next week to show out and be like, look who we still have left. Everyone came out to challenge JC Jane. They called her a paper champion. Oh, you're going to be easy to beat. Like, you're just nothing. And she's had, you know, a little bit of a success since then. I really like what she's done on the mic. So knowing that they have other women set up, Soul and Izzy kind of have had a little bit of like a background story, all dealing with Tatum Paxley. You know, Soul and Zarya wanted to actually be her friend, but she ended up costing Zarya the match to be in the number one contenders match on Evolution. So she was upset. So she ends up going with Izzy, and I think that's going to come into play here. I think Izzy is going to have help from Tatum, and she's going to win the North American Championship from Sol Ruca.
Okay, I like that. Yes,
I think Izzy Dame takes the title.
Yep, I'm in agreement. I was curious about which way you were going to go for this one. Of the three, this is the one I wasn't sure. So yes, I'm in agreement with you on that. So, you know, I do anticipate. Yeah, I do anticipate Tuesday we'll finalize this card. 2 more matches will be added. I would like the one person I'd like to see really catapult. And I know it seemed like for whatever reason, I'm talking about Wesley. So he had the injury, went away, came back, and I just feel like he was so hot when that injury happened. And so I would like to see him in some capacity get to back to the top of the card where he needs to be and whatnot. But I'm gonna say there'll be 2 good matches added on Tuesday. I'm not quite sure which just yet, but so I'll reserve judgment on the card as a whole until after Tuesday. But again, I think so far what we got, I think we're in agreement, and I'd like to see a little bit more on that card. And this one, of course, is going to be happening on Saturday the 12th, so that'll be at 3:00. So that'll kick. I think that kick starts the weekend of everything going on.
So the 3 matches plus the contract signing. I wonder if they're going to add. Rumor had it that they were going to add Hank and Tank having a tag team title defense, just doing like a quick throw together thing. They were kind of like teasing it a little bit with the guys being in the back for certain segments, but nothing has really come of it. So we'll see what they do this week on NXT, but I don't know.
Yeah, talk about like now when big fans of Hank and Tank and whatnot, but when Frexium went up to the main roster, their matches have been great. It's just like they're another team in that division. There's so many teams on SmackDown, which is great. And I wish Raw had more teams, but at least they're trying to make that division competitive.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so yes, in the chat, and I see a good amount of you on, so don't be shy. Let us know that you're here in the chat. But which match do you wish to be added to Evolution 2? And that's where we're going to go next, is Evolution 2. And so we'll kind of go through that a little quickly here. But with Evolution 2, so starting with the triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship, Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Lyra Valkyria. I'll go first here. I'm going to take that Becky Lynch just has to retain here in this one, and it has to be Lyra that takes the pin in this one. I feel like, I mean, I'd love for Bayley to get the win. You can't have that short of a reign for Becky Lynch here. I think the blow off with Bayley and Becky Lynch is the story, and not in a triple threat match. So I think Lyra's here to take the pin, and whether that's at SummerSlam, whether that's another venue, I think that's the way they have to go. So what are your thoughts on that match?
Now, see, you kind of worked your way into my brain there. Give me some brain worms and some things to ponder over and consider, because originally how I saw it playing out, which I never felt too crazy about, but Becky was going to be kind of a non-factor for not all of the match, for most of it. She'd keep getting taken out by these two, and then it'd be their bickering and arguing with each other. That would be their downfall. So Bayley eventually would take out Lyra, but wouldn't be able to seal the deal, wouldn't be able to finish her off. And then Lyra, I was originally thinking, oh, maybe she does, because it kind of seems like they're turning Lyra slowly with all the little actions and her being angry and frustrated and her taking up against Bayley. I think they have something there where if she turns, the audience might gravitate to her a bit more, because they're having a hard time relating to her currently. Bird Lady is not exactly moving fans, so...
No, but at least she's improved on the mic, which is great. That was one I had earlier on. But But yeah,
I think they
exactly.
could do the feud with the turn here without her winning the match. I think she could keep attacking Bailey after the fact, and Bailey wasn't able to go through. So Bailey shows that she's still got the moral good, and oh no, I couldn't strike her down, whatever it might be with Lyra. But I think Becky pins Lyra, like you said. So
yeah, and this one, I think that's the way they have to go there. Moving on with the card, of course, we were talking about NXT, and so this one here, JC Jane, Jordan Grace for the NXT Women's Championship. Still surprised JC Jane got the nod there, but it does say in a lot of negativity online, all that sort of stuff. But what I can say is it brings me back to Aaliyah, someone who was with NXT for such a long time and finally got the call up. So it's nice to see them rewarded in the system that they came up in, even if it is 5 years later. It's still, and I think it was just looked at the time. This is before everyone got called up. There was so much NXT talent of everyone. That's
so
the person.
Much.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of got drowned out. If you weren't in that upper 10%, then you were just thinking because there was just too many people and too much talent.
Yeah. So do you think we see a title change here in this one? Or?
I do. I think they're going to want this to go on Jordan Grace. But I again wonder if I picked wrong then for the night before. Like instead of, do they want the heels to go over strong and have Jordan come into this like really beaten down and like the super underdog, or they want her just being a regular powerhouse and destroy JC? I kind of think they want to stack the deck against Jordan as much as possible to really accentuate this title victory, because this victory is very monumental in many ways. She bridged the gap initially with TNA and WWE, and she brought the Knockouts tag title over here after making it extremely relevant over there and kind of not saving but like reinvigorating life into Impact's women's division. So Jordan's done a lot for women's wrestling, for the women in general, and I think she deserves this, and I really think she'll win here. I think it's just a matter of making her look weak before they make her look strong. So going to get her ass beat, but she's going to come out on top in the end, I think.
Yes. Yep. I think that's the route they're going to go here, especially at an Evolution Tuesday. I can see if it was an NXT Tuesday night episode, I could see it going the other way. But the fact that this is on Evolution 2 here, I think they want the world to know what Jordan Grace is about, and so I think that's the route that they're going to go here. And then what that means for JC Jane afterwards, I'm sure they could find a spot for her on the main roster as long as they're going to use her. But again, we wanted SmackDown to go down to a 2-hour show. We got it, but it's going to be harder to get some TV time and all that stuff. So that's just something, of course, to think about. So
absolutely,
this match here was also added to the card and got a stipulation, of course, but Naomi and Jade Cargill. This one's interesting because you look at, okay, can Naomi really take another L here? She already lost the first battle they had. But a lot of times when you're Money in the Bank, you can take some losses. It doesn't affect anything. Yeah. But then how do you have Jade Cargill losing the spot when she's already got a title shot at SummerSlam? So this one can be a little bit tricky. But I'm going to take Naomi here in some sort of heelish something or another. But she's got to get the clean win. But she's got. I mean, when I say clean, it's not foot on the ropes. But yeah,
exactly. So I'm going the opposite. I think Jade wins, and it's not going to be super easy, but it's going to be a pretty easy victory. I feel like the story they want to tell with Naomi, she's like, no one believes in me, no one understands me, no one supports the real me. They want me to be a certain way, but not who I am, and you're not behind me now. And I think they're going to have her kind of keep losing for a while until she then pulls off the heist of the century with the title. I think they want her to be more down and broken a bit. That's how I see the character going, because she's kind of been a bit mad in the descent that is her heel turn. Jade just won Queen of the Ring, so her losing here, unless something really monumental happened to her, like, baseball bat to the dome 19 times, and that's a lot of hits. I don't know if they want to go with that, but if that's the case, so be it.
I think. It took this long to have our first difference in opinion. So I definitely can see it going that route as well. But I'm I'm gonna take Naomi because I feel like this is a great
It's not a
opportunity for
bad
her.
pick to pick Naomi, but I think Jade she's been on a roll. They can't, you know, the machine's behind her, so having her lose here feels a bit, but like you said, Naomi could do something dastardly that totally incapacitates Jade and gives her a cover and an out.
Yes, exactly. And so from there, we go on to this match here. Again, no men on this card. This is interesting. Now we
I
got
know, really bizarre.
Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus here for the championship. I think they just had to get someone on the show, so it had to be Trish Stratus here in this moment. And this, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, this was a dream matchup, and so I think there's no other outcome here than Tiffany Stratton having to establish her dominance, and I think it needs to be a not a back and forth. And I don't want it to be a squash. I want it to be a great match, but I think she has to show here that she is. That's the route I would go, at least a dominant win here for Tiffany Stratton.
Vince was a staunch detractor of ever allowing the booking of face versus face or heel versus heel. You saw it, and that's backed up with years of evidence of how he handled his, you know, his booking. He would not allow it to happen, and basically he was like, "Don't make the match that, you know, you can't deliver. If you can't have the match, then don't make the promise." And that's always kind of reigned true with him. They're not making money anymore, as we said earlier. So not only do we get the rush builds, but it doesn't really matter if they have face versus face because they don't need to sell tickets for it on the weekend. People are either going to tune into Netflix, Peacock, whatever it is, or they're not. You know, it's not. They don't have to shell out $50 to watch it anymore. So they've accepted and been more willing to do face versus face and heel versus heel. And so I don't quite know what Trish is here. She seems like the face that returned as a nostalgia, but she left as a heel. So that's kind of my point. I don't know where she is in this promo. They were all kind of treating each other like, you know, glazing each other as legends. Obviously, Tiffany Stratton is winning here. She's going to retain. Trish is just the flavor of the week for the Evolution 2 card. That's a very delicious flavor. No complaints from the chef here, certainly.
Yeah, I think this they got a strike now. This I think it's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong here. I'm glad they've moved on from Nia Jax. You know, I definitely think their second, not their latest, but I think that's the second match there between the two was the best in the series for sure. So,
yeah.
But I'm glad that they moved on from that. Of course, I see in the chat there that's an interesting one. So I would like to see Nikki Bella open challenge with Bianca Belair. You know, Nikki Bella had something going on with Liv Morgan, and that didn't work out obviously with the injury. So is Nikki Bella going to just enter the Battle Royal, which is what we're going to talk about next?
Could happen.
You know,
and that's the thing. With Liv getting injured, it really messed up just so much, unfortunately. And that's what's disappointing because so many people had this card set, and you know, now we just not getting it, and we were getting the Bellas in a tag match, whether you wanted that or not. I mean, still the Bellas are a big deal, and working with them for Liv would have definitely elevated her even more into stardom. So why isn't Raquel and you know, Roxanne going against them for the tag titles at this point? That should be happening. And instead we had radio silence. They announced this show 7 weeks ago, but didn't build until last week. Why?
No, it was like they've got to announce at least one here, you know,
at least something, please.
Something. So I'm gonna my pick is not gonna be the popular one, but that's okay. I am going to take Nikki Bella to win the Battle Royal. I'm gonna take a Bella, one of their Bella switcheroos. They're not gonna promote pre-Bella. She's not gonna be in the match, but I could see Nikki getting eliminated and some sort of pre-Bella swappage going on, and Nikki Bella actually comes away with it. And that to me, Nikki Bella, Tiffany Stratton, SummerSlam has, for whatever reason, I think they're looking at it. Let's sell tickets. That's the way to go. I disagree with that route, but that's what I'm thinking is going to happen because anyone else would be with Tiffany in terms of that. I you know, Charlotte's locked in with Alexa and stuff, so I feel like that's a safe way to go. It's apparent that they want Nikki Bella to be there for a little while. It's not going to just be one and done. So that's the route I go. What do you think?
Yeah. There's a few legends that I imagine they're going to throw into this battle royal. If they don't have a legend win it, see, I wish I knew more of the participants. That's the problem here too. I mean, we have none of it set yet, so There could be anybody, but maybe Nikki Bella wins, like just to be safe. But that wouldn't be great because then she's going up against who for Clash in Paris? Is it? It's not. You know, that's it could be good. I don't know. I don't know if we want to see Nikki Bella in a singles match. Do we? Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be big for, but I feel like there's other matches that could be good for Clash. So I'd love to see somebody like Stephanie Vacour win this. That would be great. That would be phenomenal. But do we want to waste her title match on just a one-off because she won a battle royal, or do we want Stephanie to ascend and earn it? Kind of idea. So
Right. At least in 2025, when we're talking about battle royals, it's not Diva era where it was like 25 women battle royal and 17 of them were thrown over within like 2.5 minutes. At least I
exactly.
think we're going to get something of substance here. I am actually looking forward to this a lot. So I'll take Nikki Bella. I don't, that's not the route I would go. I just feel like that's what's going to happen because they're in this, like, we're going to give Jelly Roll a storyline. We're going to, we're going to show anyone in the crowd that's ever done anything outside of wrestling ever, and that they're a star. And so I feel like they're just in this era where back to like the early WrestleMania times when it was like you gotta, it was the guest that came in that sold the tickets. I just feel like that's the route they're going to go. Could be wrong with that. As we round up the final two matches for the card, of course, we probably looking at the main event here: Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. For the Women's World Championship. So, Jake, do you feel that this is the night that Rhea gets her belt back? There's a lot of online hate or a lot of like discourse for Rhea and title matches. I don't understand that at all. So I'm gonna keep moving on. So do you feel like this is the night?
Confusing. So some people feel like, oh, she doesn't deserve to be in this match, and then I see what they're saying because Io's already beaten her and took the title from her, then beat her at WrestleMania and Bianca. So Io should be facing somebody else. And the way they really put Rhea up on the pedestal, like, oh, I need to beat you because you're the best. Not, how come you're not the best? That's what my partner Cody was saying, my co-host. And he's a big Mets guy himself. So today was a little bit hard for him, but he's happy they won the last four. And he was arguing the same, basically saying, like, Io should be saying she's the best. People should be challenging her. And I agree. And that was kind of what was missing from this. Like, her going after Rhea's approval felt backwards. So it took away from the match a bit, but it seems like they're building Rhea to get the title back here. Like, that's their goal. She wins the title, everyone comes out and embraces Rhea because they're making her their it star.
Yeah, I agree.
It feels like her coronation as the woman of WWE in a way.
Yeah. I'm going to not quite sure how I'm not going to predict how it's going to happen, but I'm going to have Io Sky retain here. Surprisingly, not quite sure how that's all going to pan out. But I feel like that's the route. I would kind of like to see an Asuka Io Sky SummerSlam, if I'm being completely honest. So
again, I kind of thought it would go to that because they already teased it. But how does Rhea not win here? I mean, it would be nice to see Io retain. She beats Rhea, she did it, and then she has to go face Asuka at SummerSlam. Sign me up. But I don't have faith that they wouldn't have Rhea beat Io, honestly.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting for sure. But I think either way, for sure, that will be the main event. But in that main event spot, something as unique's going to happen. I don't see it just being a clean finish and they go off the air, especially with it being Evolution. So final match on the card, though. For that, we were talking about the women's tag team championship match, where all four teams have not been announced. And so here, I think we have two of them, correct? So we have Roxanne and Raquel, and then we have Charlotte. And it's almost like, hey, Charlotte, we're gonna put you with someone that the fans like, so we forget that people don't like you, and so they're out there going. So not quite sure who those last two teams are. I think it would be nice to see some sort of this would have been a nice match to have the Iconics, who formerly from WWE, that are now in TNA. I think this would have been a good opportunity for them in this spot. If they wanted to go that route.
They did return. They were back in, I believe, Impact, and then they kind of, were teased. So maybe they could squeeze out that and be the possible other team. That would be something, but I don't think they're going to be through the NXT side. So we still need, I guess we got, as you said, Charlotte and Alexa, and then obviously the tag champ. So we're missing two more teams. We got to see what comes of it.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see there. Even though we don't know the teams, I think that it would be a disservice for them to take the belts off of the. I mean, every single tag team, someone gets injured every time they. It's like they keep trying to hold on to these titles, and I think we're all in agreement that it's almost like fate saying, "Let's just let it go," because every single time
I just
something
didn't want to
goes
see
wrong.
it vacated, Mike. That was really it. I just didn't want to see yet again the belts be, handed over. So
Yeah. So I think I can see the writing on the wall. I think you keep them as tag team champions. I'd love to see Liv Morgan come back, finally win the Royal Rumble as a face, and that whole thing happen. That's how I would pan things out, if that's even possible with her injury. But that's the route I would go. But they retain here on my end, and so that takes us, as we have just a few minutes left, to tackle the last show that we were going to talk about, and that is, of course, Collision. No, this is going to be AEW All In. I think,
yeah,
I don't know what the
short
price
answers
tag
only.
is. Yep, I haven't paid for an AEW show in quite a while, so I don't know what the price tag is for their shows, but I know it's
I
not on
believe it's
easy
still
yet.
for $50. I believe is the
$50.
is the
Okay.
cost. Yeah. I'm pretty
So
sure it's $49.99.
I'm one thing I'm happy about. There's only, I think, 7 matches, and I don't know if Tony Khan's gonna. I feel like he's gonna wake up on Thursday and add a bunch of luchadors to some of these matches or something. But I'm
He's
happy
got
with.
8 matches, but like you said, we have the 2 casino gauntlet matches in there. So I still envision them adding more. There's going to be some type of kickoff pre-show on
Yeah.
YouTube. So they're going to have more matches, absolutely.
So what I'll do here is we'll kind of throw those matches up there. We'll just kind of quickly, just as we've been doing, but just give our prediction there, of course. So this one has been this AEW Tag Team Championship match is now triple threat or 3-way here. So I feel that they added the patriarchy here. Everyone wants to see the Christian or the Cope and Christian back together again. I don't know if they'll still have the same effect because he's Cope, he's not Edge and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
but here I'm taking the patriarchy. I think are going to win the tag team championships here. That's the route I would go.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that one?
I'm going to say the Hurt Syndicate retain. I think it's they're going to get mad as Christian gets pinned, is my theory. And then the patriarchy all starts to beat the crap out of Christian, and that's when Cope makes the save.
Okay, I like that.
That's because I don't think they can have them come back, and they want to do their last run together. Apparently, allegedly, is the rumor mill happening. And how do you do it with either one of them as a heel? You don't want the nostalgia heel run. You want them faces. So
yeah,
I think that's the start of the redemption arc
for that. Yeah, no, agree with. I think I could definitely see that for sure. Now this this match has been built around like steak and some potatoes and vegetables, and I feel like they really missed the opportunity here. But Mercedes, I never lose Monet and Tony Storm
they
for
dinner with this one. That's a great point. They were like, well, they just. What scares me is I'm jumping the boat on this one, but I really feel like Timeless Tony Storm is losing her belt to Sasha. Like Mercedes is going to have another belt, especially because she hasn't dropped any of the other ones, minus the one she did quickly, and then they kind of just were like, "Here, take this one instead." It's not a creative thing. I see her beating Tony Storm, and then Tony having to do the comeback thing again is more the story I think they'll go with. I think you're gonna see Mercedes beat Tony.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, I think that match should. You could make it. This could main event. I mean, any other show. Don't think it will this one, but yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, Monet, I feel like it's getting another title to that repertoire. And yep. And so I see a comment here. It says, "What's up, Jake? I'm going to All In Saturday. To me, the card has been built well as the Evolution, Trish Tiffy, and Stephanie Vakir, but overall less excited because of the build." So thanks for joining us, TSS2. I appreciate you watching along here. We're tackling all the shows that are this coming weekend, and then of course TNA the following week as well, which we're not doing that show here. But so we're talking about All In, and we're both in agreement that Mercedes adds another championship. Not sure where she's going to put it. She's going to wrap it around her boot, but she's going to add another championship to there. But if I'm wrong, that would be a case where be perfectly fine being wrong there. in that scenario. But as we continue to look at the rest of the card, the women's casino gauntlet match.
Oh, really quick,
That one's
CSS too. Thank you for that comment. I hope to hear from you soon. I'm smiling big just seeing you in the chat, and I hope that you have a great time at All In. That's going to be awesome. Please reach out. Yeah, this
that's
match.
a great
I don't know
experience.
about this match. You know, this women's gauntlet. I have no idea who. Maybe Tekla, you know, the spider, the female spider. Maybe she wins if they put her in it to make her have a standout performance. But I really don't know what participants they're going to throw in as a surprise for it.
Yeah, I think we'll see a surprise, but I think the winner should be Jamie Hayter. I think that's the right choice here. But I think we will see a surprise or two. Who, you know, I'm sure it could be an Alina Black, Erlina Black. It could be a what's her name, Shotzi, or you know, Black. We'll see someone we know.
We're going to see some surprise. Somebody's poking through. I'm not sure who's going to win it. Probably whoever is that wild card, the Joker card. Same thing with the men. We've heard you know a few different rumors, and it's going to be one of the people let go, probably, right, from WWE.
Yeah, I think so. I see. You know, I've seen a lot of push for this to go to a Darby Allin coming back and that sort of thing. I think there's more.
I think Darby's coming back just straight into the main event scene.
Exactly.
He's
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, so we'll get to that, but I don't think they're going to have any hint of him coming until he's there.
Now, for those that don't know, the winner of this gauntlet match in the women's gauntlet match, if you want to refresh to to listeners what that means in terms of title shots, and is it a title shot, a future title shot? Is it at a specific time and date for that? Do you remember?
So the way they typically do it, just you get to win the match at any point in time from the start. It's usually 21 entrant, and the match ends when one wrestler's left. And the way they've done it pretty much every other time is that you get a world championship match at a set time. It's not usually, you don't get to call your shot. It's just they have a set date that you get the match for. Typically, it's been All Out. So like this is All In, and they do the match at All Out was kind of the thing. But I'm not sure how they're going to handle it going forward. So I know it's not like a Money in the Bank type cash in though. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to call my shots here. This is my, like, it doesn't work in that regard.
Yeah.
So from as far as I've seen. So
your official pick then for this one, you said a returning or a debuting WWE guy. Is that your?
Yeah, and the one they're not getting, it doesn't seem like is Cedric. You know, he would have worked great in the Hurt Syndicate. Instead, he's going into. You're seeing him kind of just go to TNA. So surprising, you know, when we see anybody go over there that's getting let go from WWE, because it feels like, you know, you're going to your sister's house when you just fought with mom kind of idea, you know, or maybe mom and dad got a divorce. Either which way, you know, there's certainly something missing, but there's a lot of people certainly that have been let go that have buzz about them, and I think it's somebody's going to be popping up from somewhere.
Yeah, so I'm going to go here. I don't know if this person's even ready to come back or not. I know, you know, there's two people in mind. Of course, one would be Eddie Kingston, but I feel like he's
a great.
Yeah, he's a little late. So I'm going to go Eddie Kingston or Jay White here. Again, I don't know if either are ready to come back, but I think those two picks would be sufficient in my end. But I do think, just like the women's, we'll see, you know, one or two talent from, you know, because they're not signing as much WWE talent or NXT talent as they were. We saw some things come out about that purposely. So I think I'm going to go with one of those two for that. But I definitely think we'll see some familiar faces there. Moving on with the card, we got Kyle Fletcher and Adam Cole. And I've seen a lot of people, you know, online calling him Adam Cold. He's his build right now, or his aura, is not what it once was, unfortunately.
No.
So
there was a point in time where I really thought Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole, and Johnny Gargano were really going to be like the future of wrestling. Like, Johnny's aiming to be this way. Like, they're going to be the new Shawn, Hunter, and Stone Cold kind of vibe. Like, these guys have so much attitude. Not necessarily those people, but you get my point. Like, they were it. And then, I mean, you got DIY being great heels in the tag division, but they're never going to be like the WWE champions. I don't vision them like that now. Tommaso was one of the best heels at Generation
Ever.
E.
Yeah.
He came out to no entrance music at all and got the loudest boos back when people were not reacting. So
That first, that first match with when they exposed the boards, like that was the
uh,
first time, edge of my seat, like
mm-hmm.
nacho chips, crumbs everywhere. I was just like, oh my goodness. So I'm
Yeah.
still think everybody's waiting for that to happen on the main roster in some capacity. It hasn't happened. I feel like
Those takeover events made me enjoy wrestling all over again, made me go
yes.
ahead and find, purpose and care. I mean, what if they bring out Braun Strowman for the gauntlet match, the casino battle royal that
Oh,
they have?
yes.
He's a
That's an
big one.
excellent.
Another person that I would really like to see get a chance is Eddie Thorpe. I liked him
Yeah.
in NXT, and they had something with him being like the Native American warrior, but they didn't really like morph his character too much. And then right towards the end of his run, he had that great moment where he faked his injury to get into the out of the battle royal and get the title shot, and it was like, oh, he's doing stuff. And then I guess he said he chose not to let them renew his contract. He wanted to leave and venture out. So if that's his choice, that's what he wants. Let's see him come in and win big and get a chance. I think he could do a lot, honestly.
Yeah.
They need to stop worrying about getting pre-established talent and start building up their younger stars, their younger talent, their guys. That's what needs to happen here.
Right, because there's been no, and we all seen the articles with Private Party and where they're probably going to leave, but like there's
Yeah,
been no develop,
Danhausen.
like Dante Martin and like some of these people, they're the exact same position they were 4 years ago. Like they haven't really moved up at all in the card, and that's a shame. And there's been a couple that have, but most have not, unfortunately, and that's how we're out there. So I'm taking Kyle Fletcher here in this one. I think Adam Cole. I don't know what kind of repackage needs to be done, but something needs to change there in that one. Do you are you taking Fletcher or Cole in that one?
I think Fletcher is going to win. I do. I think he needs it more. I think Cole can come back from it, but Fletcher is going to get the win here. Just seems like that's what they're trying to do.
Okay. As we can finish up here, we've got, of course, Okada, Omega, Texas all in. This build too, again, something happened a couple weeks ago, and then they've kept Omega off TV for far too long, in my opinion, to build this match. Although we are supposed to know the history, and we should be okay with what the history has told us, why this match is so important. But I feel like they need to have told that story on AEW TV. Same thing with if they were to strike with Gargano and Ciampa on WWE TV, they would have to tell us the story and not just assume we saw them in NXT. And so I wish that the build would have been better here. Absolutely. Are they going to deliver a banger? Absolutely. It's going to be, they'll probably create a new star for this. But
I agree entirely. The match will be stand out, but they finally had the one video package that was like, this is good, this is great. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And it gave a bit of the history, but all it did was show the only reason anybody cares is because of everything that happened in another company. You have done nothing with either of these men to give a damn about them facing off in AEW. So that was kind of a hindrance from them airing that package. So they have the Continental Champion, they have the International Champion, and then it becomes the Unified Championship, not the Intercontinental. And anybody that thinks they can't name it that, like WWE has the market cornered and copyrighted, just like you think there can't be more than one world heavyweight champion? There's things they can only copyright so many phrases here, but
right.
I think Omega's getting both belts. That's what's happening. He's getting the unified title. They've planned this for the last 6 years of AEW. They wanted this match. They wanted Okada, Omega at their big stage. That's what we're getting.
Agreed.
Omega's winning.
Yes, Omega's winning, and I hope they find a way to have Okada feel a little bit more important. He's been okay, but I feel like there's still layers that we haven't seen from him yet. So I think hopefully that'll kind of go in that direction. Yep. And then, of course, the championship match, Jon Moxley, Adam Page. Will this finally be the night that AEW, we see the championship? First of all, it's just existing, but not on TV. So do you like Adam Page here, or do you go Moxley? I will go first just to give you that extra thing. I'm taking Moxley here, surprisingly, but I am. And I feel like the vibes of and I know I mentioned them in the Battle Royal, but I can see a scenario here where we get some returning people. Like, I feel like everything's going to happen at the end of this match, kind of like the WWE big pay-per-views lately with the big everyone and their mother come down the ring.
Who's
yeah.
You know?
So I think Moxley wins, but I think that's going to make a lot of people angry. But I think enough's going to happen, but whether it's Kingston, whether it's Cope, whether it's White, or whether it's Darby, or all four. I think back to the Cole and Bryan Danielson when they both debuted the same night. So I think there's going to be enough stuff that happens at the end that's going to try to make you forget that Moxley still has the title. But in the end, I think they're not going to pull the trigger just yet. What are your final thoughts on this one?
Wow. I mean, I'm going to get the certain bit of lambasting saying I'm just agreeing with you like I always tend to do. But no, really, that was what I've been touting on my show as well. I've been screaming from the rooftops. He is not winning the title from Moxley. It's not happening. They're not doing it yet. I've got my autistic flail going. It's not happening. I'm really freaking out about it. I'm getting mad, and that's why I got to keep taking the happy pills, because I know for a fact in my heart, it just believes it's not the time. Why? Brian has been doing the comeback thing, and he's there when their cameras are off. I think he's going to get involved after Hangman loses. Everyone thinks he's about to win. He's going to lose. Moxley retains. And that's when Brian comes back, and Brian's going to have, in his honor, Darby Allin fight for him. I think Darby's fighting for him. You're going to see Brian take a bump. Maybe he does a match eventually. I hope not, because it's going to kill him. But let's see him. Yeah, I think Hangman loses. End of story.
So, yes, I love that. That is awesome. So thank you so much, Jake, and everyone, for hanging out. I know, I see 30. This is the most that we've had on since we started, but as we come to a close, of course, that's okay. But Jake, last thing, we want to just make sure anyone that is watching here, or if they watch it later or in the morning, where they can find you on social media. Or, I already know the answers to this, but if you can share that again with everyone so they can see your content as well.
You were too kind. Thank you again for having me on here, Mike. I really can't congratulate you guys enough for having such an awesome community of, great like-minded individuals that are just out there to enjoy, content and have fun, whether it's baseball, whether it's wrestling, or anything in between. So thank you for embracing us with welcome arms. Definitely got to have you on our side sometime soon. We'll set that up. And you can find us on our side at Jake Countdown Ended DeMarco on YouTube. You can go ahead and subscribe over there. And we're live after Raw, NXT, sometimes SmackDown. And usually we're live after every major WWE and NXT PLE. We do cover TNA at times, and we'll be covering AEW. So go ahead and check that out. Or you can talk to me on Twitter /X, Countdown Ended, on there as well.
I appreciate it. And as we close up, one thing I'm thinking about is with all these shows this weekend, right? Like, there's content creators out there that they want to stick to their schedule, and they're usually, they have their one show or their two show, but they want to cover everything. And like, I can see like the fiance, the wife, the girlfriend, the boyfriend, whatever the case may be. Wait, you're going to be home the entire, we can't go anywhere. So I imagine there's some disgruntled.
We have fireworks this upcoming Saturday for our town that we're going to. That's also coincide with my daughter's birthday. So I am mandatory attending that, and I'll be watching the end of All In on my phone. But then it's going to be one big review, I think, on Saturday night instead of a bunch of small ones. It might have to be.
Yeah, well, I'll be watching, and appreciate you being on here with us. Thank you so much. Sorry, Darren couldn't attend, but this was a great time. And so thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back live Thursday night. We're going to talk with a sports podcast. We're going to talk about all things Utah Jazz. We're going to talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers. We're going to talk some NFL as well, a little bit of everything. So make sure you're here Thursday night with us for episode 96. Until then, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you around the ballpark. Bye, guys.